Hello and welcome to the 31st episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad and I am joined by my brother Rob.
Greetings all!
And how are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Brad?
I'm doing good, except for I feel like the worst son ever.
I know what you're talking about.
I called my folks out of the blue. Mom answered, and she said, it was your dad's birthday. Now, to clarify for the audience, our parents' birthdays are like 2 days apart.
Yeah.
So if one of them is having it, the other one is having it shortly thereafter or has already had it.
Uh-huh.
And for some reason I blanked on that, and she was like, it was your dad's birthday. And I was like, oh, happy birthday, Dad. And then I just sort of let it go. I completely, for some reason, and when I talked to Amber about it later, she said, so you mean you didn't say happy birthday to your mom? And I was just like, oh, worst son ever.
Yeah.
So, happy birthday to both of you.
It's happy birthday.
That was really jacked. So, at this point, we normally move right into the geek news. However, this week, we're going to make a little bit of a modification because our main topic of discussion is E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, which is going on right now. We're recording this Wednesday, so by the time you hear it, it will have ended. But we're fresh in the middle of it, and that technically counts as news. So we're going to skip past our news section, go right to our main topic. And Rob, you being the one with more free time these days, have been digesting a heavy amount of E3. So we're going to let you take the reins here. And we are not journalists, we should say.
But we are geeks.
We are geeks with opinions, and hopefully that counts for something. I will say that E3 used to be open to the public, and it is no longer. It is much more of a business event now. But you and I have a long tradition of following this.
Yes, we do. It doesn't really matter what has happened with E3, politically. It's remained the same thing to you and I, which is just we go online and for a week straight are just constantly hitting the refresh button. The big three companies, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, have held their press conferences and kind of announced all their big things for next year. Yeah,
let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's start with Nintendo.
Okay.
I know you're a Wii owner.
Yes, I am.
Did Nintendo reveal anything that was earth-shattering? Because I didn't really see anything.
Well, Nintendo probably had the biggest announcement in terms of hardware.
Okay.
They revealed this little square pack that plugs onto the Wii remote called Wii Motion Plus.
Okay.
It gives the Wii remote the type of gesture recognition and motion control that a lot of people have been wanting from it for a while. It's true one-to-one motion detection.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This thing is going to come as a pack-in with Wii Sports 2, or Wii Sports Resort, as it's called. Which is, I think, a really smart move. A lot of people loved Wii Sports whenever they bought it with their Wiis.
Yeah, I've heard that Nintendo's actually had difficulty selling other games because people just hang on to Wii Sports and play that all the time.
Absolutely, and it was a great technical demo for just what the Wii could do and just had so much fun attached to it. So I think it's really smart. Like, they're going to release this thing that potentially could split the user base a little. You know, our developers going to want to really embrace this little thing and how much can they design around it. But they're doing a smart thing by attaching it to such a recognizable title for the Wii.
Yeah.
And one of the things that truly demonstrates what this can do, in Wii Sports Resort, there is a sword fighting simulation.
Oh, cool.
And basically, the ability to do a sword with the Wii remote is just like a natural convention, and everybody's always wanted it,
right?
But they've just never been able to do it right. And everybody wants the Wii lightsaber.
Yes.
And thanks to the Wii Motion Plus, we are one step closer to having that.
We're almost there. This reminds me a little bit of the what was the chip, the graphics chip that you plug into your N64?
Well, it was a RAM cartridge. It was the booster pack.
This sort of sounds like that to me. It's like, well, you get this little upgrade slocket or whatever that you put on, and then you're good.
Or like the Rumble pack for the N64.
Right. So, are we going to be getting a VHS advertisement in the mail for this?
I really hope we will, and I hope that Sony and Microsoft are represented by, a balding guy and a fat man, just like with the Rumble pack video.
Oh, memories. Okay, so that's cool from Nintendo. Was there anything else?
One more bit of just cool thing about that announcement is that the Wii Sports Resort pack that includes it is the regular $50. There's no extra money that you're spending.
Oh, nice.
For that, so it's really in a position to sell, so that's good.
Very cool. Was there other things out of Nintendo that were
Well, I don't know. Like, there was more hardware. They had their Wii Speak, which is a microphone that sits atop the sensor bar.
Okay.
And that's going to be incorporated into the new Animal Crossing game, which is going to be highly network intensive.
And if you are over 50, that sentence just blew your mind.
Exactly.
The microphone that attaches to the sensor bar for Animal Crossing.
Right. Yeah, and it's their solution for online chat, but it's for the whole room to talk at the television, not just like one guy wearing a headset. So I don't know, it's an interesting concept.
Cool.
But I gotta criticize Nintendo. You know, like when they were interviewing Reggie Fils-Aimé, who's kind of the big name PR guy for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Afterwards,
I like Reggie.
Yeah.
By the way.
Me too. Everybody loves the Reginator. But I mean, afterwards, people were like, "Oh, well, you didn't really appeal to the hardcore audience." To which his reply was, "What? Didn't you see Animal Crossing?"
Oh, a little sarcasm.
No, it wasn't sarcasm at all. I mean, he really was like, seriously.
Maybe he misunderstands what hardcore means.
Yeah.
But okay, so Nintendo showing off some new hardware, that seems like their routine. You know, Wii Fit and now these peripherals. But hey, they got a good thing going. I wouldn't stop if I were them either. So let's move on to Sega. Just kidding. Those days have sailed. I know. Well, let's move on to Sony.
Okay.
What kind of caught your eye out of them?
Sony, oh boy, what Sony was an almost painful thing to watch, just in my opinion. I mean, like, it's the one system I don't own, so maybe I'm a little biased. But their guy Jack Tretton comes out, and I have had this kind of sadistic fascination with this guy ever since I realized that he was an exact duplicate of the chairman in Billy Madison, who runs the academic decathlon at the end.
Right, the famous quote of, everyone is now dumber for hearing it.
Exactly. He is that guy. I'm waiting for him to just talk about his wife leaving him.
Right.
And the first thing, like when they kick off the show, he walks out on stage and complains about how stressful it's been and how out of shape he is.
Ouch.
I'm like, wow, Sony's really going for the hip audience here.
Well, I mean, it's possibly an upgrade from years past where they wheeled out a 900-year-old Japanese emperor who proceeded to tell you that all other companies would be demolished by the end of the year.
Yeah, well...
Sony PlayStation 2 DVD-ROM system, Final Fantasy 9.
But yeah, nice impersonation.
Thank you.
I will admit that Sony must have heard the criticism about their infamous PowerPoint presentations, and
it's very business. Yeah,
they still gave that information, but they built a Little Big Planet level that one of the guys ran through.
Oh wow.
It was probably one of the most exciting, like
PowerPoint presentations
I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, they're really milking Little Big Planet still. It seems like this is the new Metal Gear that we're going to hear about for 5 years, and then it'll finally be released.
It's very sad. Basically, it was Resistance and Little Big Planet. And then they showed a new feature in Home, which they still haven't given a release date for.
That's the other giantly milked property.
Yeah, and we now have video game-themed areas that you can visit, and one of them is, Resistance.
Boom.
So, Resistance showed over and over again at this thing, and while it was impressive, I'm like, okay, well, there's no Killzone 2, which was before PS3 ever came out. They were just, Killzone 2 is going to be amazing. They showed that fake footage and all that stuff.
So was there basically just not a whole lot of new information out of Sony? Or
it was very predictable. I could have written down exactly what the thing was going to be.
Right.
The last big game announcement was God of War 3, but of course...
everybody knew it was coming,
They didn't even show the game. It was just a trailer. It was equivalent to the Halo 3 announcement, just this pre-rendered CG trailer. Boo. But other than that, the big news to come out of Sony was that they launched their video store. It's actually launched now. You can go. Pretty awesome. And one feature that stood out is that they showed the ability to buy some movies.
Ooh.
They showed the guy purchase Cloverfield for $15. It was standard definition.
Right.
That was cool. You and I had been talking about that. That's really the next step is, you need to be able to buy these movies.
Well, I guess I want the eventual digital ownership, but I want it to be in an open format. So I would be very concerned with purchasing a Sony PlayStation 3 version of a movie. Renting is fine. I mean, renting, you're not going to keep it anyway.
Yeah.
But I got to be real careful with who I buy from digitally, just because I don't want to get locked into something. But, I will say that I've heard a lot of great things about the Sony store and the Sony interface maturing and evolving into something that is very close to what the 360 has in terms of functionality. And I guess that's probably a good segue to say that while Sony has finally upped their game to where Microsoft was, Microsoft is apparently becoming Nintendo. Their dashboard update is huge.
The new Xbox experience, as they've coined it.
So why don't we move to Microsoft then?
All right.
Of the news that I gathered, this was the most exciting to me. I mean, we own 360s, but I don't want people to think we're hating on Sony because, every day that system looks sweeter to me. But this dashboard update, they missed the last scheduled one.
Right.
And I think now we can see why, because this one is a huge overhaul. Why don't you go into some of the details there?
Right. The new Xbox experience is basically completely doing away with the whole Blades operating system that they have currently there. And it's this new, cleaner looking kind of... It almost reminds me of like Apple's Front Row interface.
It's somewhere between that and like Media Center meets the Wii somehow.
Exactly. It's very like rehauled and pretty impressive looking. I actually am kind of excited about it. But obviously the big news here is that they're reinventing the whole gamer tag system.
We had talked about that news when it leaked in a previous episode, and now that ends up being actual.
Yeah, and so now you're going to be able to design your own little sim-like character to look like yourself or whatever you want it to look like.
So, and the question comes up, why do I need these? Just to have a cool gamer picture? But I guess they're expanding to share with other people, like photo slideshows and video.
Yes, they announced a partnership with Netflix. If you have an Xbox Gold account and you have a Netflix membership, you can go into Netflix now on your Xbox 360, watch their downloadable movies, and I'm hoping and believing that that's not for any like fee. Like, it's part of your Netflix account.
I have a feeling this is actually going to tie in with existing members because all it is an extension of the website.
Right. So that's like what's going on with all the hardware and stuff over at Microsoft.
Yeah. That's a lot to talk about, just one dashboard update.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's huge. So let's get into some games.
Games, boy.
I mean, honestly, I didn't see any titles that were announced that I thought were mind-blowing. I did see that Wolfenstein is coming back. Activision announced that it's just going to be straight called Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
But most of the things that I saw that I was interested in were titles we knew were coming.
They gave demos, finally, of Fallout 3, Gears of War 2, Fable 2, and Resident Evil 5. They kicked off their show with that, which was really smart.
Yes.
And my favorite out of all of those was probably Fallout 3.
One of your most anticipated games.
Absolutely. They started off with this great little kind of 1940s black and white footage.
Of course.
The guy's like, "Are you ready for the next nuclear attack?" And you see this family eating dinner, and outside their window, this cheesy nuclear explosion happens, but at the bottom of the screen it says not an actual nuclear blast.
Nice.
And then they went on to show the stage demo, which answered so many questions about how it was going to be played for me and just how that humor is still intact.
Cool. I did see that Resident Evil 5 now has a date. In fact, one of our commenters criticized us for not discussing Resident Evil 5 in our most anticipated games show, and that was actually because it's been pushed to next year, but the date has been given, and that is March 13th of next year. We will see Resident Evil 5, but there was new footage and a new character, as far as I can tell. Shiva, I believe?
Something like that.
It's a female character. We don't know her name. What I saw, my opinion, looked really cool.
Yeah, they're doing the whole co-op online thing that's popular and taking a kind of different take on it where now you can like assist each other through acrobatic moves or like context-based things where you send one person off. And
hopefully they pull it off better than Army of Two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it looked decent. And, my fears now about the racist, quote-unquote, aspect of Resident Evil are a little bit more at ease now, I think. When I first watched that trailer where he's firing his gun into wave after wave of black people, I was a little concerned, and I turned to Amber and I was like, did you get the same vibe from that I did? Is this game ever going to see the light of day? But I think that we've seen more variety in what has been revealed lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You mentioned Gears of War 2.
Gears of War 2, which was kind of, well, it's Gears of War. It had some cool stuff to show.
Yeah.
Probably, the one thing is that it ended with this kind of geek bait line in the same vein as kind of like Count Dooku being like, "Looks like we'll have to fight with lightsabers, Yoda." Like one of those lines.
Looks like we'll have to finish this challenge with our skills in Othello.
and everybody goes, "Oh my god!
Oh god, it's on!"
So the Gears of War 2 trailer ended with them discussing killing a Brumac, which is a giant missile-toting lizard.
Right.
But instead they go, "Why don't we ride it?" And everybody's just like, "Whoa!" You're gonna ride
I'm kind of confused. As much as everybody's excited, what does that mean? Why don't we ride it? I guess just jump on its back.
Well, that's the point. Yeah, you're going to jump on its back and control it somehow, but it doesn't matter what it means. It's just exciting,
Is it just me, or are they milking the Brumac a lot? It was in the PC as a boss fight. It was definitely seen a lot in Gears of War. I'm not that into the Brumac that I need this much Brumac. But that's Gears of War 2. It's more of the same, which is a good thing.
Fable 2, they showed that really quick. The only interesting thing there was that basically if you're playing single player and one of your friends is playing single player and you happen to be running past the same place where he is, they'll see a little glowing orb that represents you in your game, and he can just walk up to that orb, talk to it, and invite you basically immediately into his world.
Very cool.
Well, in my opinion, the biggest announcement of E3, and that is that Final Fantasy 13 is coming to the Xbox 360.
Yes, this was a big deal to me.
Huge.
Because
I was like screaming at the TV.
I mean, if it was on TV.
It was on G4.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So, there is nothing more reliable in the gaming industry than Final Fantasy being good. And over again consistently. I mean, understood that it is an RPG, and that may not be some people's thing. But if you like RPGs, that's the cream of the crop. And the fact that it was on the PS3 almost made me think, okay, now I need a PS3. But this is pretty wild.
A main Final Fantasy title is going to be multi-platform. That it's going to be on PlayStation 3 and on 360. Which everybody's really crazy because Microsoft isn't even doing that well in Japan.
Yeah, and that just leaves our one or two comments on Rock Band 2, which is a game that we cover quite a bit on this show, so we agreed ahead of time that we wouldn't say more than a comment or two. For me, that comment is Interpol is finally in Rock Band. Yes, that is awesome, so I am there. And your comment, Rob?
Guns N' Roses is alive. And Shackler's Revenge, the new song off of Chinese Democracy, an album that's been in the works for 20 years, makes its debut on Rock Band 2. That's huge music news and huge video game news.
I just don't know what to think, Axl Rose is a very curious character. And is there still a market? I was thinking today, is there still a market for Guns N' Roses? I mean, what would a new Guns N' Roses album sound like?
Who knows? But we're gonna find out with Rock Band 2. We have to mention this. Portal still alive. New maps coming out for Portal. Exciting! Yay, Portal.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's gonna wrap up our E3 discussion for now. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Rob, for geeking out.
No problem.
If you would like to geek out with us as well, you may send us an email. Our email address is mail@growing-up-geek.com. And so we will see you all next week.
Later.
That's awesome.